Brigantia Blackbird, a Blackbird's Brew. Happy Monday and welcome to Norse Studies. I have been reading through Norse Myths, the book that was edited by Jake Jackson, and the story The Birth of Viking caught my eye. It's not about the birth of the Viking era and what caused that to come about. It's the tale of the grandson of Halog. The story goes that Viking was born on the island of Bornholm in the Baltic Sea. He grew up there, and by the time he was 15 years old, he had become the largest and the strongest man of his era. He wasn't just strong, but he was brave, and because of this, his reputation spread far and wide, and it even reached the ears of a Swedish princess called Hunvor. She was plagued by this just giant of a suitor, giant as in, size and disposition, no doubt. And no one in her circle had the courage to even attempt to send the unwanted suitor away, and she did want him disposed of. Hunvor decided to therefore send word to Viking to just come and rescue her. And he decided he would do this. He had received a magical sword called Angurvedel. It had the ability to slay even a giant, and thus armed, Vikings sailed forth, and he had a duel with the giant, and he won. Now, at this point, in the usual process of things, he could have immediately married the Princess Hunvor, but he was still just 15. And for the Northmen, it would have been really, really frowned upon for him to marry before he reached the age of 20. So to pass that 5-year span of time, because he did intend to marry her, Viking went off. He took a dragon ship. He made sure it was well manned, and he was accompanied by his good friend Halfdan. And then they went off, and they had a myriad of adventures on both land and sea. Viking had a lot of troubles with the relatives of the giant he killed. He had to fight off plenty of foes, and he even had to rescue Hunvor a second time. But in the end, Viking overcame all of the challenges. He settled down in Sweden. He married Hunvor, and then his friend Halfdan, he settled fairly close by, and married a woman who was named Ingeborg, and she was an attendant to Princess Hunvor. So it was all very cozy, and things worked out well. Time passed. Viking and his men spent very peaceful winters by the fire, just enjoying being entertained by the tales of the skalds. And then every spring, they resumed their raiding activities. And despite all of this hustle and bustle, they ended up making a few unexpected friends along the way, including Norhefi, who was king of uplands. And with him, Viking had actually battled, but, they had ended up in a draw. And as a result, Viking, Halfdan, and Norfi swore themselves as blood brothers, just forever after. However, after returning home from one particular raid, Viking learned that his wife Hunvor had died. In the between time, they did have one child whose name was Ring, and Ring was entrusted to a foster father. And then after a short period of mourning, Viking did marry again, and this new wife gave birth to 9 very powerful sons. Time passed again, and the children of Viking and Norhefi grew up. Despite the very close friendship of their fathers, it was the sons of the men who frequently came to conflict, and of course, as these things go, that eventually culminated in bloodshed. Both Viking and Norfi ended up burying quite a few of their sons until they only had 2 surviving sons each. Viking had Thorsten and Thorar, and Norhefi had Jokul and one other son that the book didn't happen to mention by name. Viking then sent Thorsten and Thora to his loyal friend Halfdan, and he was trying to keep them out of the way in hopes that it would break the chain of vengeance taking. And while they were with Halfdan, his sons had a series of adventures. Thorsten, when he was on a particular pirate expedition, he encountered Jokul, who is Norhefi's eldest son. Jokul had seized the kingdom of Sogn, and upon killing his former king and banishing the heir who was named Bele, he then changed the Princess Ingeborg from her natural appearance of beauty to that of a hag. Nasty move. Jokul used magic to give Thorsten difficulty at sea, and twice Thorsten was shipwrecked. He was saved by Ingeborg during one of the shipwrecks, and in gratitude, he swore that he would marry her, despite her unfortunate appearance. She also suggested that he go off and find her brother Bele. Thorsten did successfully find Bele and even helped him regain his hereditary throne, and thereafter the men swore eternal friendship with each other. And at this point, Jokul's spell over Ingeborg was broken, her beautiful appearance was restored, she and Thorsten married, and they ended up living at a place called Framnes. So lots of excitement and daring in doing this story. We have mighty warriors, raiding parties, oaths sworn, troubles with the kids, rescuing of fair maidens, and all of these things eventually, of course, come full circle. What I really love about this story is that each person was proactive. No one just waited for things to happen to them or just hoped that it would all work out and that someone else would do the work for them. People made decisions, they took action, they kept going, and I really love the spirit of that. This idea of seizing your agency, taking control, making choices, and following through with them. Our world could use a good jolt of that kind of thing. No more passivity, no more lurking around on the sidelines. Just get up and live your life. And that's what I really loved about this story. So I hope you enjoyed it too. And let me know about some of your own favorite stories from the lore in the comments below. I hope to, kind of one by one look into them and just, this is all part of the ongoing journey. So definitely let me know which ones are your favorites. Comment section below, or come see us on Gilded. There's a link to join us in the description box below, and we'd be happy to have you. But that will do it for now, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.